at the Rich Eisen Show. Eric Davis sitting in because Rich is running 40s. I don't know what shoes he's going to be wearing, but he's going to be running 40s soon. He's up in Indy. He's up in Indy right now. So since he's here, I got my name. I just saw that last segment. It said Eric's Extra.
Yeah, it did.
I like that. That's the way to get graphics going. I'm trying to get my name. If I can get my name on a cup, that'll be big. You know, I'm looking for that. I'm just trying to see if I can just get that to change right over here. Change that to Eric.
You're worth
Davis, you know.
I mean, but your form would be much better, so it wouldn't be as an entertaining of a picture of a graphic.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We'd have to change it. We change the graphic. It'd
be hard to make you awkward, bro.
But see, there you go with that.
Come on, man.
LaVar Arrington, my guy. LaVar Arrington.
I feel like the radio audience missed out on some gold, though. Can we give the 30-second condensed version of why Eric is your hero?
His wife.
that's pretty much there it is. That Cliff Note version.
His wife.
That's it. So
you've ever seen his wife,
so that the radio audience knows what we're talking about. He was telling this story about when we first met. LaVar and I have known each other since he was 13, 14 years old. And when we first met, he was telling everyone, you know, that I became his football hero. And long story short, it had nothing to do with anything that I did on the field. It was the fact that we were in Barcelona, Spain. I walked into a dinner, and he saw my wife. And as a 13-year-old, he said, "I want one of those."
That's kind of, that sounds.
And that's pretty much the story, right?
I mean, that's you nailed it. I mean, that's a grand slam. And it sounds kind of creepy. You know, it makes me seem like I'm kind of weird because I can remember what she had on. That's what, like, it was ingrained in my mind that this is what. If this is, and think about this. Like, think about the amount of motivation that created in my life. Like, I was on the track to play basketball. I said, "Dang, basketball. If this is what football is going to yield me in return, then I am going to take this game a whole lot more seriously than what I did before I came on this trip."
And look what happened. 7 years in the NFL.
I'm sitting here with you now.
I'm saying, but no, look, 7 years in the NFL, and that was sidetracked by an injury.
And I got a bad wife.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I was going to get to that. I was going to come full circle with this. I was going to say, you know, you got drafted.
I met the model. I hit the mold.
You not only shifted over to football, you became one of the top prospects. You're All-American and first-team All-American at Penn State University. You were the second pick of the draft.
I'll take it.
And your second overall pick in the 2000 draft. 7 years, you got derailed by the injury. But you ended up being the second pick, and I believe the first pick that year
was my teammate.
Was your teammate that went to Cleveland, correct?
That's correct.
Correct. Now, what would you have done?
It's a great segue.
Seeing that you grew up in Pittsburgh, seeing that you are all things Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And you had gotten drafted by Cleveland.
Not all things. Most things Pittsburgh, a whole lot of things Penn State, and quite a few things Washington, D.C.
Okay, but if you at that time, if you had gotten drafted by the Cleveland Browns, when that conversation, because I'm sure they had to call you.
They did. I was the first person they called. Before, and that was while they were still doing pre-draft deals.
Okay.
That was when the trend of getting the deal done before you even got to the draft was at its highest point.
And what happened?
They would have had to have paid me Peyton Manning money. They would have had to have paid me whoever other big-time quarterback that was going #1 in the draft was.
So you said it was like the Dion deal where they would have had to put you on layaway.
Yeah, they were. I mean, my price tag was too high to go live in Cleveland. They didn't. You know what happened was I told them they had to give me 14 to 16 up front. And then they called Courtney, and so the benefit of having the top 2 picks and you guys are teammates, you know, as soon as they called me and said, "All right, we'll call you back," I called Courtney
and said, "This is what I told him."
And said, "This is what I told him." So you better go for the best deal that you can possibly get, you know. And so, but they ended up doing the deal with Court.
Was that specifically because it was Cleveland, though, and you were a Steelers guy, you didn't want to play there? Or
no.
It was a money thing?
It was because they were not known for one. Have they won a Super Bowl yet? Okay. So the thing about that is, listen, I was schooled by a lot of guys. You know, Jerome Bettis was a mentor of mine. Dwight White was a big-time influence on me growing up. And I knew the business side of the sport by the time I was going pro. So my likelihood, a lot of times people don't understand that you could be a really, really good football player coming out of college, But depending on where you go, where you land, that could be the death of your career. And for a long time, Ohio was a black hole in Cincinnati and in Cleveland. I mean, interestingly enough, Cleveland ended up making it to the playoffs before the team I got drafted by did. So.
Well, LaVar, you just talked about how, where you end up in the place you can go, how that can be a detriment to your career. It could be a rebirth for your career or a bonus for your career.
Yeah,
Combine's the same thing.
Absolutely.
You went to the combine.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, I was telling them, you're pretty much a freak. Like, even back to 13, I told them the only thing that's changed is your upper body. Your legs are still the same size.
Yeah,
they're
still the same size.
You still got the same little skinny legs.
Yeah.
But do you think there's as much benefit of guys going to the combine today and performing as it was when you did it? I know it's definitely not from when I did it.
I think it's better now
Why?
than what it was before, because I think the exposure is different. And how we work, we're all about building brands. So for me, I look at it as, is this an opportunity for me to solidify what I'm defining as what my brand is? Back then, and especially back when you were coming out.
Well, why you got a grin? Why you got?
Because they probably had black and white televisions when you was coming out.
I had one in my dorm room.
They were still like putting the cameras and doing that when you. Nah.
I had 8mm film I watched while I was in college. Yes, I did.
It just
and
the coverage, the coverage was so different, and I felt like if I'm going to go out here and perform. I felt as though it should be, based upon the information that was being given at the time, it should be in the confines of Penn State, of State College. Whereas now, it's a show all in itself now, is how I look at it. And so you have to prepare yourself for it to be a true job interview. I don't know of a more strenuous, is that a word?
You're good at making words up. I know.
I love
I've worked with you enough. You will make up
that
word.
because it should be if it isn't. And the reality of it is that as strenuous as it is to go through this job interview, I don't know that exists. Maybe in the military.
Yeah, you know what?
Maybe in the military it does, but I don't know of a straight up, take your clothes off, let me see you, turn to the side, let me see you, turn around again.
You know what? On that note, stop. On that note, we're going to take a 60-second break.
Okay, that's
We're going to take a 60-second break, and then we're going to jump right back into some of the crazy things that we were asked at the combine.
Yeah, that's
all right?
fine.
We'll do that, all right?
That's fine.
We'll be right back in 60 seconds. You're at The Rich Eisen Show.
You can get faded in this place, too.
All right, I'm sitting with the 1999 Buckus Benderek Lambert Award winner.
We need some hard alcohol out here, like to be sipping
it's over in the lounge. You didn't get it.
I mean, this is an amazing place. Like this,
nice set,
is very nice.
It's a nice set.
I'm envious.
You see, I've been trying to boost it.
I'm gonna start hating.
I got my name on one of it.
You know, we did
one of the
tons of shows together. If you want to start hating, I'm gonna hate right with you. We're gonna hate you right into that seat because I'm gonna be your co-host. Sit right here.
See, that's my guy, LaVar Arrington,
right
NFL Network, 7-year pro. We're going back right now, and you're back at the Rich Eisen Show. I didn't even tell you guys that, but I'm sure you know that right now. We're going down memory lane. We're talking about the combine, and you're right. That meat market when you walk in and you skivvies and everyone's asking you the questions. You're number 2 pick of the draft, so I'm sure. And when you talked about the job interview, and I was saying, in the first hour, all you can do is just be honest, and you're going to get asked some crazy questions, and some of them are to just try to get under your skin and see your reaction. Any crazy stories? Any crazy questions asked to you?
Oh man, crazy questions. I got a lot of questions because I had an incident on the football field during my last year where we were coached. There was a designated guy to come off of the ball and hit the punter. And people know this, especially if you paid attention to what was going on in college football at that time. So I come off of the ball, I hit the punter, and they said, when you hit the punter, I want you to demolish the punter, destroy him, like wipe the grass up with this punter because that could make the difference in him making a good punt or not as the game goes on. So I get all kinds. That basically costed me the opportunity to get invited to the Heisman my last year in school. It turned me into like this national bad boy.
But I remember when you hit him. You lit him up.
I got him,
yeah.
and I got him like 4 or 5 times. And so I can recall them asking me, because now it became a question of what my character was.
Why are you picking on the punter?
Why are you picking on the punter? You know, what was your thought process? Are you a violent person all the time? Are you violent off of the field? We talked to your high school principal or your high school coach.
That's crazy when they start going back and bringing up these names, and they actually have had these conversations.
And they have actually had the conversations. And then, one incident when I was in high school came up, and it was like, wow, I knocked him out.
And there are very few job interviews, as you said, in which they go back and they will literally talk to your middle school teachers.
And I was not going to lie. I was not going to lie.
Yeah, you knocked him out.
They said that. I did, and it was, I just felt as though getting it all out. Like, well, why did you get into the fight? Well, it was racially motivated, and I was in imminent danger. I just wanted to talk through it. The guy was a big guy. I didn't want to get into that. I'm not a fighter, but it happened, and it. And I said it. I explained it. We got through it. But, then they ask you, do you like girls and stuff like that? Or, what do you like doing? Do you like hanging out? Different things like that. And it's interesting because they try to make it in a way where it's a comfortable enough environment. They're trying to make it a comfortable enough environment where it's like, let's go out and hang out to this. Like, you want to go kick it? Are you going to draft me? Let's go. Like, what? I'm sitting there like, now what is the right answer to this?
And you're trying to figure out the process. Then you finally get to that process. You get into the league. You're doing things. You hope things go well. Sometimes you don't end up in the best situation for you. As a player, some might say as an organization, I'm going Robert Griffin III right now. And your thoughts on what's happening there?
That's a tough spot to be in. It's in some ways.
For the organization or for Robert?
I think for both. Because there has really not been a signature career to come outside of Sean, and that's Mark. That was exclamated with exclamation point with tragedy, and so when you look at the amount of players that have walked in and out of those doors, there has not been a Hall of Fame signature career since Dan Snyder has taken over that team. And so for him to be as high as a pick as he was, and I was there covering the Washington Redskins when he got drafted, and it rejuvenated the entire city, the entire sports landscape. And it was crazy because now you go from a dismal group of seasons in different sports, and then now you get John Wall, you get RG3, you got Alex Ovechkin. It was pretty exciting. And then he wins the NFC East as a rookie, goes to the Pro Bowl as a Rookie of the Year. It's like, here it comes.
Hindsight, do you think he would have been better off if Shanahan had remained? If he had listened to him, he had remained?
I think if they would have just did what they needed to do, which that's what I felt they did his rookie year, I think the situation would have been better. I don't know how much better. I don't know how. I think the reason why things started crumbling a little bit was based upon, you and I both know, once you put the film down, then now you got to be able to adjust and to adapt to them seeing what your best, what is this is this guy's best stuff right here on film. We're looking at it. What are the tendencies? What is he doing? Once you have those things down, can you still be successful? And I think that may have been where Mike Shanahan and Kyle and RG3 and his parents, his dad was involved as well. I think that was where collectively, I think things started to take a turn because there was a lot to be made about him running. His dad said, losers run the football. I want my son to throw the ball. But now Shanahan's saying he's not going through his progressions. He's not throwing the ball. It was just a lot of mixed stories coming out. I don't know who's right, who's wrong. It's just unfortunate that it panned out the way that it did.
Where do you see him going?
You know, what's interesting is I would assume he wants to be a starter. And when you have the mentality of being a starter, you won the Heisman, you have a statue of yourself at your former university. Like, you are a man of stature. You have accomplished quite a bit. You would assume he wants to be a starter. Where do you go to be a starter? I'm not sure. You know, when you think about it, I was wondering, you know, because Kaepernick has requested for a trade. So in my mind, I kind of look at them. I put them in the same category of type of quarterback. And I thought about, you know, Kansas City as a backup. I mean, you go to Kansas City as a backup, at least you're in a system where the coach understands your skill set.
Got it.
You know, he had McNabb. You know, then I came to the conclusion. I was like, well, if he had that guy, this Philadelphia, because now you got Peterson in there, and he coached Mike Vick with the Eagles under Andy Reid, and I started thinking to myself, that might be a unique fit for one of those two guys.
And you're viewing it the same. You're viewing it the same way. I say that. I hear a lot of people saying that there's not a job for either one of those guys, Colin Kaepernick or RG3, in the league right now. And I'm like, do you guys see how many bad quarterbacks are out there?
There are a lot.
They're too young, and they have shown. You mentioned both of those guys have gotten their teams to the playoffs. They've shown that they can be successful. So I think they'll both get a chance. Yeah, right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Christian can throw the football. He's got a strong arm. He's a big guy. He's smart. He was able to learn quickly when we had him at Penn State. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, I've talked to a few other guys at that position, not to get into all the list of guys that I've spoken to that are smart, that have good arms. And so, again, it's a long process, and it's going to take a long time to figure out at every position what's the best fit for your team.
Well, he needs a fit for that position in Houston.
Well, we know that. We know that.
We definitely know that.
Back to Rich Ivan Show. It's LaVar, you a Penn Stater?
I am.
This kid.
Every day I am.
Hackenberg. How is he? What have you seen from him?
I think he's an intriguing prospect because the guy that you heard the soundbite from obviously was his coach. You know, under some interesting circumstances, he went to Penn State and kept his commitment. Even though he wasn't sure, a lot of people weren't sure once some more information came out what Bill O'Brien was going to do, knowing that such harsh penalties had came upon the school.
Yeah.
And he ended up leaving after Hack's first year. So, but he had a strong freshman year. So it's you can look at all of the circumstances surrounding his college career and say, you know what, I at least had an opportunity to see what he was possibly going to be outside of Bill O'Brien leaving. Now, that's not an indictment on Franklin and his coaching staff. I just think that, as we all know, when a coaching staff changes, so does the schemes a lot of times. And that the scheme changed, and it wasn't conducive for him to have the type of success that he did under O'Brien. But he's intriguing.
But you think he can have success in NFL?
Absolutely. I think he's. From what I know of him, and I've been watching him play for a long time now.
That's what I'm asking.
I think he'll be a steal. I think he'll be a better pro than he was in college.
When you say steal, you think late round guy, early, mid?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go early. I think you can get him out of value pick because his last 2 years would be considered poor. They were poor. And so when you have a poor year, and I said that on this show, this very show, that it would probably make sense. A guy like Christian Hackenberg plays out all 4 years in school. That's what they do. A guy like that. But he's probably going to have to come out now because it's not going to get any better under the system that he's in. And sure enough, that's what he did. So I think a lot of people know that. I think that he did not progress the way that a lot of people anticipated it. So it's intriguing.
Well, you know something that the more I watch it, it doesn't get any better. You speak of getting out now because it doesn't get better. The sports Jeopardy.
Okay.
There was some sports Jeopardy that went on, and I keep looking at it.
That was
got
bad.
any better. Can you guys show us this? I want to know exactly what went down.
Rich versus LaVar and Kim Jones.
It was bad. I'm glad it was on Crackle because I didn't see it.
Career record for yards rushing in
this
Super
is
Bowls
bad.
with 354.
This is bad.
Oh, you know who this
All
is.
right, Kim, you're in third place.
Thank you, Dan.
The answer.
Penn Stater.
Your answer is who is Franco Harris?
Yes.
That's it. Yep. And how much did
I
you
had
wait?
TD on the brain.
All right, takes you up to $7,000. LaVar Arrington, who
darn.
played at Penn State.
Yeah.
So your response is?
Oh, this is delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't go to Penn State, did he?
No. Franco did go to Penn State.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, Terrell
Yeah, he
Davis.
did.
I was thinking Thurman Thomas, so I would have messed up. I would have missed either way. So
How much did you wager?
I wagered 4,000.
All right, that'll take you down to 0.
Hey, I didn't go negative. That's positive. That's a positive.
All right. Rich with 14,500. Great showing.
Rich
as the
is
host
such
of the
a-
NFL Network.
Thank you, DP.
Your
Oh,
response is
God.
Franco
I'm so
Harris.
mad at
Well done.
Rich.
And how much did you
You're
wager?
mad.
Look at all them points.
499.
That'll bring you up to just under 21,000. Thank you.
But it went to a good cause. It went to a really.
Have you
really good
apologized to Franco Harris since this?
There's no need
episode?
for an apology. When you mess up on trivia, that's why it's called trivia. I have no regrets. I'm a fan of Terrell Davis. I'm a fan of Franco Harris. You're not going to make me feel any type of way because I missed the trivia question.
Well, I'm saying it's Franco. It's a Penn Stater.
Yes.
You-
And that record is still his, no matter if I got it correct or not.
That's true.
I make a mistake. I made a
That's
mistake.
true. Well, I'm
there
not
was a lot of pressure, people. The lights were bright.
But you always say
my
that
clicker wasn't working
the pressure
all
doesn't
show.
bother you.
It was
always tell me
rigged.
that.
The show was rigged.
You know what? Please, we are getting out of here. LaVar, LA, thanks for coming, man.
Nah,
Appreciate
you guys want to try to play me on the Rich Eisen show.
No. What's the Eric
He
Davis?
won.
It's the Eric Davis show today.
Okay.
That's why I'm
That's
playing.
fair. Okay.
See, Rich Eisen
Because that's
wouldn't
what
play.
you do. You do be trying to
That's
play
what
me.
I do. Well, I mean, I just try to keep you in
Until
your
I
place.
drop kick you in your head.
With those little tiny legs?
Yes.
Come on, man. How you gonna get all of that upper body off the ground?
That's true.
With those tiny legs.
You make a good point there, E.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
figure that out. And by the next show, you do.
Wait, LaVar,
There
you
it
once,
is.
you once jumped over a defensive lineman. Offensive lineman in
but it was a
college.
short lineman. It was a very short lineman.
I've jumped over way more players than
All
one
right.
Eric
We
Davis.
are-
King Kong
Stop it.
ain't got
Stop it.
nothing on these legs.
This is the Rich Ivan Show. We'll be back for another hour right after this.
What you gonna do about my legs?
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.